All right, welcome back to the show. Well, the countdown to the ultimatum given by the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry ends tomorrow, the 19th of April 2017. Groups like the Wasa Association of Communities Affected by Mining, WACAM, have said that if government fails to ride on the back of the prevailing anti-Galamsey momentum to clamp down on the deadly activity, any further actions from them will be acts in futility and basically pointless, as they won't yield any result. Media personnel appear poised to keep up the campaign, even though it promises to be a tough journey. The man in the hot seat is Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewo. We're expecting him in the studio pretty later. But the media representatives from that coalition against Galamsey are here with me. Representative from that coalition are here with me. Ifya Pokia is editor at our sister station, Adom FM. Ifya, thank you for coming. And also in the studio with me is Kojo Akoto Boateng. He is on the City Breakfast Show. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start from, and we know that the media say, you know, we're together in this fight against Galamsey. But let me take your thoughts on the response so far from the anti-Galamsey fight.
Well, I think so far we are getting some good news. Some of the things that we asked the government to do was to immediately stop the total cessation of giving mining licenses and illegal mining. So we asked that we shouldn't give out any mining licenses within the next year.
Okay.
And then we also expected all sorts of small-scale mining to be stopped in 6 months.
Okay.
Now, I've been told that the government is not giving out any mining licenses, which the Vice President said at your event. So we are not issuing any mining licenses. 2, we are moving to restore the land that has been destroyed and the water bodies that have been destroyed.
Okay.
That's also, and the Lands Minister announced over the weekend that they have a new program in place to fight illegal mining and the various issues. And if you look at the angles they are looking at, they are looking at finding jobs for the over 250,000 people involved in small-scale mining who would be affected. They are looking at restoring our water bodies. They are looking at seizing the equipment that the small-scale miners, the illegal miners, are using.
Okay.
So they are tackling the issue from different angles. Initially, when this conversation began, some of us expressed concern about what was going to happen to those involved. But now we've been told that we are just not going to stop small-scale mining, but we are going to create an avenue for them to earn a livelihood. Because most times when we try to solve our problems in Ghana, we don't solve them holistically. So, like,
we deal with the symptoms.
Like hawkers on the streets. You drive them off the streets, no other alternative plans, so they return to the streets. You say you are going to stop, or you are going to check on road accidents. You put policemen at various intervals, yet you don't fix the roads, you don't train the drivers, you don't ensure that people wear their seatbelts. So now it looks as if the government is putting together a holistic plan, which has not been shared with us yet.
Well, yesterday the Vice President
mentioned,
the Vice President mentioned a bit of it, and the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources actually I engaged him on this show, also mentioned that integrated plan. So we're hoping to have him so that we go through it and know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, because tomorrow is the deadline. But let me bring Ifya Pokia into the discussion. Ifya, if you could touch on the response so far and tell me whether or not you feel that the media actually will be able to carry this or see this campaign through to the end, to the result that we expect.
I think that it's going to be very difficult to sit here at this beginning and say that the media can get the battle or go through this battle to the absolute end. But the media is a key stakeholder. The public is another key stakeholder. The state institutions are key stakeholders. And the fact that the media is leading this campaign, for me, is an action in the right direction, because we shape public opinion. We influence public opinion. We're the gatekeepers. We set the agenda. And hitherto, normally what we used to do is that there's an agenda for a week or two and something else comes up and it fizzles into thin air. So the fact that we're passionate about this, our management and all that are very key stakeholders pushing this agenda, I think that it will be sustainable. But for me, the response from the state institutions and especially government is important. Okay. At least we've gotten to a point where government appears to show more commitment than we've seen in the past. Okay. But for me, just lip commitment is not enough. we've seen this in the past. The Honorable Inus Afuseni and his team tried to do something. Samuel Sapo and his team in Kumasi in Ashanti region, where you have a lot of these Galamsey operators operating, tried to do something. In the end, we saw that it was removed from Ashanti region to Cape Coast as the Central Region Minister. So
do you envisage something like that will happen in this time?
For me, I think that, you see, the Galamsey work and those who are engaged in it have become like a mafia. They're so powerful. They have friends in government and they have friends in parliament. They have friends in the other stations, arms of government that can influence certain things. That's why this fight, this advocacy of the media is so important. Because whilst these people will make every effort to influence all these arms of government, the media's role is so powerful because we can also influence public outcry, public sentiment against those powerful elements. And therefore, when the public themselves, like I'm saying, the public is the key institution in all this fight. Everything that all the institutions are doing, what the media is doing, if the public is not on board, all that we are doing is zero. So once the public is incensed by the effect of it, once the public is getting to appreciate that in a few years' time, we're not going to have access to clean, potable water, then we're getting somewhere. So I think that is going to be sustainable. But it's also going to depend on the political will of the government of the day. That's very important. We've seen so many people with paying lip service. Like I'm saying, you see, it's a new government. So you can see the exuberance or the promises, but we need more than just promises. That strategic plan that you're talking about, I want to see a short-term plan. Yes, you stop issuing licenses for a year. For me, that is nothing. The law, the Minerals Act itself is a problem. Where somebody sits at the Minerals Commission, has the right to issue licenses, goes to paste it in the district office, and the chiefs and the people do not have a say. In the law, they seem to have some kind of say, but it's absolutely bogus, because if you go to the Western region, where chiefs are cutting cocoa trees for Galamsey operation, then you can see the enormity of the problem that we're dealing with. It's not just Eastern region, it's not just Western region, it's not just Ashanti region. It's even moved into the north.
You're right.
It's such a serious issue.
Let me bring Kojo back into the discussion, but let me quickly announce that we have the minister's word. We're actually expecting him here in the studio so that we can have a clear idea of what's going to happen at the end of his ultimatum. Kojo, let me ask you what your expectations are. Tomorrow is the deadline for the ultimatum that he issued, that there'll be cessation of
what I basically expect tomorrow is for the government to announce the plans to deal with Galamsey. The plans
have already been announced?
No, we've not seen any holistic plan. What we've heard are bits and pieces from events and from interviews. You understand? But we need a plan, a national action plan to deal with Galamsey and going forward. You see, the challenge here again is that now we've set up the courts, the Chief Justice designated courts to deal with mining cases, Galamsey cases. That's brilliant. But then that's just not enough. We used to have task forces that would go around to ensure that we kick these people out of the farms and the forest and all that.
And all that.
Those task forces some time ago, you mentioned Samuel Sapon and Yamin. I remember covering a lot of those stories. That's also there. But we also need to go to the communities. We need to find out how to sustain lives and the livelihoods of the people in the communities. We need to educate them. You see, the problem with us, and I'm going to come back to this, it's a bigger problem. If you mentioned that Ghana's economic fundamentals are being lost. So agric, from 1948 all the way to 2013, 2012, we moved from about 200,000 tons of cocoa a year to about 1 million tons. And then we started dropping. Over 6 million of your population depend directly or indirectly on agric money. And a big chunk of your banking and financial transactions is cocoa money. We've overlooked the sector. The sector is struggling. So people are losing their livelihoods. They'll do anything at all to make a living. You understand? So most of the economic fundamentals we got wrong, and we need to ensure that we get them right. With the China influence and whatever the result might be, we mortgaged our cocoa for Bui. We went for a CDB loan. We didn't get the loan, the total amount. But mind you, your Ghana gas loan was from China. You are still trying to pay for that. There are a lot of infrastructure projects you've done, which you took loans from them. So China as a nation would have an influence in certain things, and they could drive the conversation to a point. Now your businessmen are going to China to import a lot of things. they will be affected one way or the other if if the country feels that you are dealing unfairly with their people. So to win
unfairly
ourselves,
with their people when they are breaking our laws.
When they are breaking our laws.
Every country is a sovereign country.
Now, in dealing with some of these problems that we get ourselves into, we need to look at ways that we can free ourselves of aid, donor funds, loans, and all that.
So
then we can progress.
That sounds like looking at the bigger picture, but I'm looking at the step-by-step
so
solution,
step by step,
which starts tomorrow.
Step by step.
What will make you disappointed tomorrow, for instance?
Tomorrow, if I don't hear from the government that this is a holistic, comprehensive, detailed action plan, they may leave out some of the security details, but at least we need to get to know what they are doing. We gave them they gave us an ultimatum,
Exactly.
and they said that tomorrow all sorts of illegal mining must end. But then it's a bigger problem that has been with us for decades. So we need to have a holistic action plan, short term, medium term, long term. Like the flooding issue that happened, we pushed for solutions. They gave us a short term plan which they didn't work with. Medium term, if short term didn't work, you shouldn't expect medium and long term. So we need an action plan that we, the media and the coalition, can hold them to. So we hold them accountable. You told us you are going to do this.
So let me just interrupt you quite briefly there and bring what would disappoint you tomorrow?
What would disappoint me is that if we don't see a short-term plan. I'm more interested in the short-term plan because I think that Ghana will do a lot very well in long-term planning. So that's sorted. We know what to do. It's not as if we don't know what to do. We know what to do in the short term. This is something that NDC was dealing with. So we have the blueprints there. So the short-term plan, immediately, for me, it's not just about seizing Galamsey for a year. For me, it's about reviewing the law, and that can be done. And MPP has majority in Parliament. You can fix the difficulties in the law. You can fix it. And then try to decentralize the licenses regime. Try to kind of...
Wouldn't that create a lot more problems?
Well, we have to create problems to deal with it. This is a menace. If we are not ready to step on toes, we can't deal with it.
So if by tomorrow there is no short-term plan,
there should be a short-term plan. There should be a long-term
strategy.
Plan.
You would be
there should be timelines.
And then
so that we can... And then we should see a strategic effort. We have a whole ministry for monitoring and evaluation, don't we? We should see the role of that ministry in that plan. In terms of how they're going to monitor this year on year, month on month, quarter on quarter. We should see that. And then the media can also carry everybody, the public, along and monitor it. That we said we're going to do this in the first quarter. We said we're going to do this. And we've already spoken about alternative livelihood. It's so key. Agric has grown, it used to grow even negative. 1-2% in the average. We are not serious as a nation. I'm just happy that the Minister for Agric claims that we're going to do planting for Agric, but we've heard a lot of that modernization for. We need to have an alternative to these things because if people don't have alternative, go to Diamond Akwetia. After Zoom Lion acquired GCD, what happened?
But if
even the investment that we're supposed to have invested into GCD, it's not there.
We can still see the short-term plan tomorrow, but it appears that there's
realistic short-term plan.
It appears that there's a lot of pressure on the minister.
There should be
not to act about Galamsey. A lot of pressure from the minister, from among the party, from within the party, not to act.
We don't care. We don't care.
See, the biggest
we don't care about that pressure. We have a government that says it can do. A government that says change is here. A government that made us believe in it. A government that made us vote for that change. We need to necessarily see that change. We have to.
I think
so we don't care about the pressure the minister is facing. The minister himself should have anticipated that there will be pressure. The president himself should have anticipated that, yes, you can't deal with this without a fight back. Definitely it will happen, but we need a solution. That's what we bought into, and that's what we need.
Solution.
The biggest legacy Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP government can leave Ghanaians is to deal with Galamsey. It's so simple. If you are solving the Galamsey menace, you use the Ministry of Lands, you use Ministry of Agric, you use Ministry of Environment,
Traditional Council,
and you use Ministry of Health, Ministry of Local Government. It's going to absorb all these people. Now, once you solve the Galamsey challenge, millions are going to get their water back. Look, almost all the water plants are being shut down. Almost all our water bodies, if you look at the Water Resources Institute's reports, they are all being polluted. Now, a holistic solution to Galamsey would result in us finding alternatives in Agric, alternatives in manufacturing, alternatives in all sorts of places to absorb the unemployed, which is going to give us a boost. So
it's not really automatic though.
It's not, but the thing is, there are opportunities for us to grow. Look, if we paid attention even to tourism, it will lead us to solve some of these problems. If we paid attention to even tourism. So I said earlier that our economic fundamentals have been broken.
Okay.
Let's start fixing them. Fix tourism, fix agric, fix small-scale manufacturing, fix all the bits and pieces. And let's wean ourselves off aid and loans and all that.
Okay.
Because the more you do that, the more you give people the chance to actually dictate to you somehow. Look at media.
How to deal with
Look
the
at the
but that's going to be very difficult. Even Trump is struggling with China.
Look,
he's struggling with China. Almighty Trump is struggling with China.
That's because he does business with China.
Yeah, but we do business with international communities. We are a third world country.
There are countries,
heavily dependent on others.
with no resources, which are still far ahead of us.
But they've built their fundamentals for years.
That's the point I'm making. So the biggest legacy is to put in place a plan that will take us into the future.
Okay.
And that plan would rope in.
You know,
all
we have
these
the
people.
NDPC 50 years, 40 years development plan.
That is still being debated.
That is a lot of English.
We've done some time now. We're still expecting. At this point, I'm not sure that the minister will show up anyway. Is this a part of the pressure that's been is it part of the results of the pressure that's been mounted on the vice and
I would want
minister?
to give him the benefit of the doubt. We don't know why he's not here. We don't know.
Okay.
It could be an emergency cabinet. It could be invitation somewhere. It could be even a family, a personal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we don't know. So I would rather we, hear from him.
Okay.
To be fair to him, we hear from him before we jump to conclusion. But we have already accepted that there's pressure from the president to, these small-scale miners are very, very key people. So we know that there's pressure. But what we are saying is
some
that
have already threatened that they will vote the NPP out.
It doesn't matter. This threat, blackmail of votes, for me, is annoying. You remember MPP Child Bean Team's days? These hawkers from the streets, there was the same blackmail. It's continuous from government to... We don't need it. We need to end somewhere. You see, and we have a president who says, I don't want to use certain language. He's got what it takes. He's got, he's got the boldness and all that. We need to see that boldness. You get the okay. So we need that boldness in this. We need that boldness. We don't. I don't want to give anybody any excuse and say that there's pressure. To accept that, to even listen to that excuse, is to open an avenue of escape for anybody to give us an excuse. And we don't want that. We want change. This is the change people voted for. We need. And Nana says he has the men. Is that not what MPP has been saying all this while? They have the men. Right now, they've shown us that at least they have some kind of commitment. We need to take that commitment to the end and fix this thing. Okay, thank you. He sounds annoyed already. But Kojo, let me take your final word. There's no excuse for non-performance. We shouldn't accept any excuses. If 1,000 people, 2 million people are going to say that we won't vote for you, so let us. If you stop our Galamsey business, we won't vote for you. You shouldn't listen. Look. Our politicians must know that life and governance is not about winning elections, but giving the country, the nation, something to hold on to. A better life, a better future, a better environment. So we want to believe that the president is in a hurry to develop the country, as he said, and that he will hurriedly fix some of these problems and leave Ghana a better place than what he inherited. Okay, thank you so much for passing through, even though the minister didn't show up. Hopefully he will, some way, somehow, or maybe another time. But I've been here with Efia Pokua. She's editor at our sister station, Adom FM, and of course with Kojo Akoto Boateng on the City Breakfast Show. We've been talking about Galamsey, and there's been a whole media coalition about Galamsey, and that's why we're having this conversation. Hopefully that campaign will survive and stay through and see the results that are required. Thank you very much for coming once again. Well, away from Galamsey.